and the end was near. 3 years later, he died on a cross and rose again 2 days later. Can you imagine? Rose 2 days later. You know, there's a lot of people that say, well, Christ never rose from the dead. I got news for you. Had he not risen from the dead, the Romans would have gone over and gotten him out of the cave and carried him through the streets, and they would have said, here's your dead Christ. Here's your dead Christ. We got him right here. He didn't rise from the dead, and he's not God. He's dead. He died just like everybody else. Well, I got to tell you news for you. They did go to his grave, and they did try to find him, but they couldn't find him. He was with the Father. And after he came back down, he appeared to over 150 people before he went back to the Father. What a beautiful day to be saved by Jesus. What a beautiful day. If anybody comes around here would like to talk about what they have or had in their life, we would be more than glad to turn this mic over to them for however long it takes for them to talk. Now there's a gambling casino right across the street. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about gambling, and I want to talk a little bit about the people who set that up. It wasn't the guy that wants to make the buck about gambling. He didn't start gambling. Gambling was started many years ago by the mob before the turn of the century. There was gambling everywhere. It was a business. But the politicians came along and they said, you know what? There were some good Christian politicians came along and said, you know what? Gambling is really bad, so we're going to ban it. And they did ban it. But some of the unrighteous people in this country wanted it, so in the late 1940s and early 50s, they built a place called Las Vegas, in Las Vegas, Nevada. They built places where people could fly out and gamble. Well, pretty soon in the late 50s and early 60s, the government decided that the mob was making too much money for gambling. And what they decided to do was they said, you know what, we'll get rid of all these guys, we'll make them, we'll get the IRS after them and make them pay taxes, and that way we can put them in prison and put them out of business. So eventually we could get into the same business they're in, because we just can't tax people out of existence, so that way we'll make money off of gambling. And that's what they're doing today. The governments across the United States are making money on gambling because they get a cut of the take.